Few men know this. Very wise advice from an 83-year-old woman about woman. Wisdom. Have you ever found yourself in an intimate moment only to be suddenly overwhelmed by doubt or insecurity when things don't go as planned? If so, you're definitely not alone. In today's video, we dive into the timeless wisdom of a village elder who shares how to approach intimacy with understanding, compassion, and love, especially when our bodies don't always respond the way we expect. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time. Just hit that subscribe button and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. Your support means the world to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me keep spreading these valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. The elderly woman nodded slowly, taking a deep breath as she considered the weight of the question. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of compassion and wisdom, and though her voice was soft, it carried the depth of her experience. "My dear ones," she began, her tone both tender and resolute. "The first thing you need to understand is that what you're experiencing is far more common than you think. The human body, with all its amazing intricacies, doesn't always behave as we expect. Sometimes, no matter how much we want things to go perfectly, the body and mind seem to be on different pages. This disconnect can arise during intimate moments, leaving us confused and frustrated." She paused, allowing her words to sink in, ensuring that the room remained still and attentive. With a loving gaze, she continued, "An erection, the physical hardening of the penis that many men closely tie to their sense of masculinity, is so much more than just a biological reaction. It's an intimate reflection of a man's emotional, mental, and even spiritual state. Stress, anxiety, worry, or even the fatigue of the day can weigh heavily on a man, causing his body to not respond as expected. This isn't a failure. It's simply a sign that something deeper needs attention." One of the young men furrowed his brow, his frustration evident. He hesitated for a moment before speaking. "So, grandmother, does that mean it's the man's fault if this happens? Does it mean he's not excited enough?" The elderly woman's face softened, and she shook her head with a gentle smile, her eyes brimming with understanding. "No, my son," she replied tenderly. "It's not about assigning blame. Oh, how I wish people would stop feeling guilty for things beyond their control. Thinking it's anyone's fault only adds pressure, which can turn a tender moment into something painful. Intimacy should be a sacred space, a place for connection, free from judgment or expectation. If the body doesn't respond as hoped, it doesn't reflect your desire for your partner, nor is it a sign of weakness or failure. It's just the body's way of saying, 'I need a moment, I need care.'" Her words resonated in the room, prompting quiet reflection. The young men and women exchanged soft glances, visibly moved by her insights. Then, a young woman, her brow creased with concern, spoke up. "But grandmother," she asked earnestly, "if this happens, how do we support our partners? How do we ensure we don't make things worse?" Her voice wavered slightly, the worry clear. The elderly woman smiled warmly, radiating love and reassurance. "Ah, my dear daughter," she said soothingly, "the key lies in gentle, open communication and the depth of your love. If your partner's body doesn't respond as expected, the worst thing you can do is let shame or silence creep in. Speak to each other with kindness. Ask how he feels and listen, truly listen, without judgment or frustration. Let him know you're there for him, not because of what his body can do, but because of who he is. The firmness of an organ is fleeting, but the bond you share through hugs, tender touches, or simply being present with each other is far more important. Intimacy is about connection, and that connection doesn't begin or end with sex. It's about the love you share, the moments of closeness that transcend the physical. As her words lingered in the air, they wrapped around the room, offering a blanket of understanding. The elderly woman hadn't just answered their questions, she had touched their hearts, gifting them with empathy, wisdom, and love. Another young man, his head lowered in thought, broke the silence. His voice was soft, almost uncertain, as he asked, "But grandmother, what if this keeps happening? What if it becomes a recurring issue?" Vulnerability flickered in his words, a fear that perhaps he was not alone in carrying. The wise woman gazed at him with deep tenderness, her expression full of empathy. She had seen this worry reflected in many faces over the years, and she understood it well. If you're still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're still with me. "My dear boy," she began, her voice filled with warmth and understanding. "If it happens more than once, it's important to address it, but also to avoid letting panic take over. You see, our bodies are constantly communicating with us, often in subtle ways. Sometimes our bodies might gently nudge us, signaling that something in our lives needs attention or a change. Maybe it's the heavy weight of work stress pressing down on your shoulders, the constant anxiety that never fully leaves your mind, or health concerns that you haven't addressed yet." She paused for a moment, her eyes scanning the room to ensure everyone was following along. "And remember," she continued, her tone growing more serious yet still infused with compassion, "this is not something you have to tackle alone. If you find this issue is affecting you more than it should, if worry starts to creep into your mind and settle there, seeking help is not a sign of weakness. Quite the opposite. It shows strength. It shows you care enough about yourself, your well-being, and the well-being of your relationship to take action. Speaking to a healthcare professional, whether about your physical health or the mental burdens you carry, is an act of maturity. It's a form of self-care, something to be celebrated, not feared." Her words carried the wisdom of years, and the room was quiet as the young man nodded slowly, feeling a burden lift from his heart. He had come seeking answers, and in his grandmother's gentle and reassuring words, he found not only guidance, but also a deep sense of comfort. The elderly woman smiled softly, understanding the relief washing over him. "You see, my son," she said gently, "taking care of yourself isn't just about you. It's about caring for those you love, and for the relationship you cherish. By addressing these concerns openly and gracefully, you show your partner that they matter, that you matter, and that your relationship is worth the effort. It's a sign of love, not just for them, but for yourself." Her final words settled over the room like a warm embrace, offering not only advice but also hope. The young man looked up, his face softening as the others sat in quiet reflection. They all recognized that life is filled with challenges, but thanks to the wise elders' insights, they also understood that every challenge carries within it the opportunity for growth, healing, and deeper connection. The young people nodded in unison, their expressions thoughtful, as if each word the wise woman spoke held a weight they were only beginning to grasp. They weren't just learning about intimacy, they were learning about life, love, and the fragile yet beautiful nature of human connection. The air in the room felt different now, imbued with a soft hum of understanding, as if they were being gifted something precious, a lesson that would linger long after this moment. Sensing their attentiveness, the wise woman continued with a gentle smile. "My dear ones," she said softly, "always remember this. Intimacy is not a competition. It's not about proving anything to anyone, nor is it about meeting some unattainable standard of perfection. Intimacy is a sacred space, a tender meeting of two souls in their most vulnerable state. In that vulnerability, true connection is born, and it's in that connection that love deepens. If one of you feels insecure, unsure, or unable to meet the expectations that society often imposes, that's not a moment for shame. It's a moment for tenderness. She looked around the room, her eyes warm as she continued. In those moments, my children, it's the responsibility of the other to offer comfort, not criticism. Remind your partner that love, desire, and passion run far deeper than physical acts. They're felt in the heart, expressed through soft words, gentle touches, and simply being present with one another. We live in a world that often makes us feel like we must constantly perform, constantly prove our worth. But in love, and especially in intimacy, there's no stage, no audience, no competition. It's just the two of you sharing a moment of closeness and trust. As her words lingered, the young people seemed to breathe a little easier, as if they were finally free to release the pressure they had unknowingly carried. Love isn't something you earn by proving yourself, the wise woman added, her voice soft but unwavering. It's given freely in the simple act of being present, of caring for each other. When you embrace that truth, you'll discover that intimacy isn't limited to physicality, it transcends it. It's found in the quiet moments, in the way you look at each other, in how you hold each other through life's storms. That is where true connection, true love, is discovered. The young people exchanged glances, their hearts swelling with the realization that they had learned something far greater than they had expected. What they thought would be a discussion about intimacy had transformed into a profound lesson on the nature of love itself, a love that is tender, patient and kind, a love strong enough to embrace vulnerability. A young woman, her voice trembling with emotion, gathered the courage to ask a question that weighed heavily on her heart. "Grandmother," she began hesitantly, "how can we as women help our partners feel more secure in those vulnerable moments?" Her eyes mirrored both uncertainty and a deep desire to support those she loved. The wise woman looked at her with a tenderness that only years of experience could provide. Her gaze was gentle, and her voice, though soft, radiated unwavering confidence. "My dear daughter," she said warmly, "the greatest gift you can offer your partner in those moments is reassurance, that you don't judge him. Men feel the weight of expectations, the pressure to always be strong and in control. But during vulnerable times, what they need most is to know you're there, not as a critic, but as a companion. Your role is to create a safe space where he can feel secure, supported, and loved, no matter what." She paused for a moment, allowing her words to resonate before continuing. "In those delicate moments, instead of pushing forward or insisting on physical intimacy, consider shifting the focus. Intimacy doesn't have to be defined by one action or outcome. Embrace other forms of closeness, hugging, holding each other, kissing, or simply having a heartfelt conversation. Sometimes stepping away from the pressure is exactly what's needed to ease the tension. This approach reminds your partner that love and connection go beyond the physical. They encompass the heart, the mind, and the soul, in a way that transcends what the body may or may not be doing. The young woman's eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of relief. She felt as if a heavy weight had been lifted, given a path to approach these moments with grace and understanding. Around the room, others exchanged glances, silently acknowledging that they too had felt the burden of this question, but hadn't known how to articulate it. Sensing the shift in the room, the wise woman continued, her voice now filled with deep assurance. "True intimacy, my children, is about more than the physical act. It's about the emotional connection, the deep reservoir of mutual understanding you build together. When both partners feel safe in their vulnerability, free from judgment and expectation, that's when true intimacy can thrive. It's about being there for each other completely, even when things don't go as planned. That's the beauty of love. It's perfect in its imperfections. It is genuine and it is strong." If you're still watching this video and find these lessons valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're with me. The young people nodded, her wisdom settling into their hearts like a warm, steady flame. They began to grasp that the foundation of a fulfilling intimate relationship isn't solely physical. It lies in the strength of their emotional connection. The ability to understand one another without words, to support each other through the highs and lows. They realized that intimacy is about the tender moments of reassurance, the gentle acts of kindness, and the unspoken bond of trust that deepens over time. In that room, they understood they had received more than answers. They had been given a roadmap to navigate love with patience, compassion, and unwavering support. They discovered a new dimension to intimacy, one that transcended the physical and touched the essence of the heart. Finally, the wise woman concluded her heartfelt wisdom with a profound reflection. Her eyes, filled with the warmth of countless lived experiences, swept over the young people, her words carrying the weight of deep truth. "My dear ones," she began, her tone tender yet strong, "never forget that true love is not measured by the perfection of the body, but by the compassion of the heart. The challenges you face in intimacy are not obstacles to fear. They are precious opportunities to understand each other more deeply, strengthen your bond, and grow closer as partners. In those vulnerable moments when things don't go as planned, love has the chance to reveal its true strength." She paused, allowing her words to linger in the air like a soft embrace. Too often, we let insecurity, fear, or self-doubt create distance between us and our loved ones. We worry we're not enough, or that we're failing if things aren't perfect. But, my children, I want you to understand this deeply. Love isn't about perfection. It isn't about flawless performances or always getting it right. It's about showing up again and again with honesty, vulnerability, and the willingness to stand by each other no matter what filled the air. The young people sat in attentive silence, absorbing every word, their hearts stirred by the simple yet profound truths being shared. The wise woman's voice softened, yet it held an unwavering conviction. When you encounter these moments, when intimacy presents challenges, don't let them drive you apart. Instead, face them with courage. Recognize that these are the very moments that test love and provide an opportunity for it to grow even stronger. Be honest with each other, communicate with compassion, and above all, offer the unconditional support that true love requires. She smiled, her face radiating a peace that comes only from years of wisdom. Ultimately, my dear ones, it's not the physical aspects that hold a relationship together, but the strength of your hearts, the kindness in your words, and the patience in your actions. Don't fear these difficulties. They are not signs of weakness, but of growth. Together, you can navigate them hand in hand, with a love that becomes deeper and more resilient as a result. Her final words hung in the air like a blessing, filling the young people with comfort, hope, and a renewed understanding. They realized that intimacy was not merely a series of physical acts, but a journey of connection, one that requires patience, courage, and, above all, a compassionate heart. They exchanged glances, warmth shining in their eyes, knowing they had been equipped with the tools to navigate not only the complexities of intimacy, but also the deeper currents of love itself. As we wrap up this heartfelt discussion, I hope the wisdom shared by the wise woman resonates with you as profoundly as it did with the young people present. Intimacy, love, and connection extend far beyond the physical. They are rooted in compassion, understanding, and the courage to face life's vulnerabilities together. Now I'd love to hear your thoughts. What insights have you gained so far? What's one thing from this conversation that spoke to you, and how do you plan to incorporate it into your life? Share your reflections in the comments below. Your insights could inspire others on their journey. If you enjoyed this video, please comment below And don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more meaningful discussions and wisdom. Thank you for watching.